Our next guest is no stranger to music, is a senior program manager for Amazon Music, Anthony Cole. Anthony, thanks so much for joining the show.
Oh, so happy to be here, John. Thank you for having me.
Anthony, back in 2019, as an Amazonian, I listened to Bar Raiser and I was so inspired by this. I reached out to you and I was like, oh my God, we got to do something. We got to collaborate, but I can't sing. So I was like, all right, baby, you do the singing and I'll do the discussion around it. Let's talk about how'd you get into music?
Wow. Well, that takes me back. I think from childhood, I had an affinity for music. Essentially, I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, so that's the accent you hear. And I think early on, I saw my dad being able to play piano by ear. And then I had some uncles who were paranderos, and I was always like really intrigued by their ability to perform and just bring so much joy to folks. And I remember entering like a talent show competition in my primary school actually. I was probably about 10 years old, and it was something called an X-Tempo competition, which is essentially like a short lyrical content that talks about a specific topic, and you do it in a specific rhyming phrasing. And I think I came third in that competition, and it really planted the seed for me to like, let's lean into performing more. So then I joined the school choir and I became a soloist. And then when I moved to the States, one of my best friends, he actually was a producer and also had an affinity for music and wanted to be an artist. And we really collaborated a lot. And from there, in college, did much more shows, started to open up for big names like Beanie Man and Mr. Vegas. These are legendary Caribbean artists that I had the chance to open for along the way, and then started to create my own songs and put them out into the interwebs, as you would say.
So, Anthony, I got to ask you, how did it go for the one that you created when you were 10 years old? So, you entered this show. What was the outcome? I'm just curious.
Yeah, yeah. I think I placed third in that show, and it really has planted the seed that this is something I enjoy. It kind of gave me the confidence early on that it's okay to be yourself in front of a large audience and give them and share your art. And I think that just continued to scale as I got older.
So, music as a part of your life growing up, and you're into the States. Did you go into a career as music, or how did it actually get started? I mean, I don't think you always were in Amazon Music. Is there something to do with banking?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so I think for me, my music has always been a big part of me, and I try to integrate it into my corporate world as well as my personal life and as a passion. And early on in my career, my first, I guess, introduction into the working world was banking. I started off as a banker and then got promoted to be a private banker for JP Morgan, where I worked with ultra high net worth and high net worth clients. And even then, in that role, I think it's much more conservative, right? Suit and tie and rules about how you write emails, and you can't say certain things in emails, unlike the tech world. But getting into banking, on the side, I continued to do music whenever I could. So I would, if you go on any of my socials from way back when, you would see I always do like these freestyles and just be create online. And sometimes folks would just reach out randomly to give me gigs. So I never did it proactively, but I did it on the side as a hobby. And then sometimes there would be commercial opportunities that came out of it while I was working in banking. And I think, my journey to Amazon was really what my wife and I got recruited by them. It really wasn't a vision at the time. I was doing really well in the previous company I was at. It was an ultra high net worth market research firm. I was leading the client success team, and my wife got the opportunity to lead the business intelligence program for Prime. And it was too good of an opportunity to turn down. This was in 2017. My firm said, "Hey, you could work remotely. before working remote was such a thing as it is today. And my wife said, "Hey, well, my husband is moving to. Is there any opportunities for him?" And they actually looked at the Amazon business account management space and thought I would be a good fit. I interviewed and I joined Amazon. So fast forward to present day, just looking at how the I guess pandemic has affected folks and really wanting to be introspective of what are the things that I'm really passionate about that I want to align myself with. I had an opportunity to join Amazon Music to lead the employee and trust program management opportunity, and I thought that would just be such a nice intersection of things I'm already passionate about. As you know, and we probably will touch on, I do a lot of affinity group work with the Black Employee Network. This would be me being able to channel that same interest, that same passion into developing opportunities for employees to have the best experience while they work for Amazon Music, being integrated into that whole streaming industry and learning about it while also being an artist and continuing to grow my passion organically there. So that's the transition that I did early this year.
And I got a lot to unpack from that. JP Morgan in a traditional banking sense, where it's not the culture it is today, where you could be outspoken and you really grow and be your personal self outside of a company and do your music. You're going in a suit and tie, but transitioning over to Amazon. And I remember your post on social media when you went to Amazon Music, and I was like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. That was exactly just knowing you from talking to you a few times, listening to your music. Amazon Music is a natural progression for you. So congratulations to that path and all the things that you're working on. How do you have free time to work on all this stuff and collaborate? I mean, you're an artist, Amazon Music, the Black Employee Network, and I know there's a bunch more stuff that I didn't even list.
Yeah, I get asked that question often, and I think for me, it's all about balance and prioritization. And I think life is all about ebbs and flows. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife who's also an Amazonian, so she's also busy. But I think, as you go throughout your day, um, really take a litmus test of what's most important that has to be done, and attack that as the first thing in the morning. That's what I do, and I working backwards. Amazon concept.
I love how you
Uh,
threw that. True
what are the
Amazonian.
Exactly. What are the priorities for that lens, that mental model, and I balance it out that way. So if I have a gig coming up, okay, that means I need to leave work a little early so I could practice and make sure that I'm ready. OP1, operations planning time is coming up. Okay, I have to dedicate more time to that doc. So I really just do a good gauging of what's going on and prioritize and try to make it work. That the method to my madness has worked so far. So I continue to do it.
Keep staying the course. Let's talk about Bar Raiser. That was my first introduction into you and your music. I've probably played it about 20 times, shared it so many times on social media because, I'm an Amazonian, I'm an ex-Amazonian, but I still know what a bar raiser is. And when I was there, the inspiration behind it, if you ever needed a pickup, you're just having a little bit of a down and bar raiser was actually perfect. Just the whole sound of the music just gets you into the groove. How'd you come up with that?
Yeah, so bar raiser is interesting because it wasn't something that I was looking per se to develop. I think the way it has scaled was basically folks seeing the opportunity to, I guess, celebrate this concept. So I entered Amazon's Got Talent, and the song that I entered with was called Bar Raiser. And I wanted a way to celebrate a Bar Raiser program because it was so inspirational to me joining the company. I remember even in this discussion I had saying, you know what, because of the bar raiser and because I know how rigorous the interview was, and I made it through. I feel confident that I actually belong because I was able to meet the expectations of this very rigorous interview process with this bar raiser as well as the leadership principles. So I've always felt inspired by that coming in. And I said, it'd be really cool if for this competition, I do a song anchored on Amazon's culture. And what is one of the main things all Amazonians can relate to is that bar raiser, interview process in the loop. And I wanted to celebrate the program and I wanted to celebrate our leadership principles. So I did it and it went viral internally. It was shared all over. I started getting requests to perform at all hands, and Team Canada asked me to come and perform. And I think you were AWS, right?
Yep.
AWS, one of the businesses asked me to perform. So that happened. And then the PR team reached out and said, "Hey, we absolutely love this song. Would you want to actually do a music video for it?" And the public relations team reached out to my manager, got sign off, and Ariza was made.
So you made the song and then the music video followed probably a little bit afterwards. For anybody that doesn't understand what a bar raiser is, do you want to educate the audience and give them an example, insight into Amazon and what a bar raiser is?
Yeah, so what makes you Amazon unique is several different things, including our leadership principles. We have 14 leadership principles, 16 actually now. And the bar raiser is essentially someone on that interview panel that's an expert in our leadership principle and our culture aligned to that role. And they really do a deep dive inspection of, is this person meeting the bar? Are they going to be, raising the standard for that specific role that they're coming into? And they are part of that interview process and really have a lot of weight into, whether you are get a yes or no. And that's standard across any of the businesses with the company. So we have folks like, Amazonians that would go through the process of learning how to inspect properly, and understanding how to deep dive those leadership questions so that they are able to be bar raisers on those panels.
Did you ever think that this video, this music, would go so viral?
Had no clue. Had no clue. It actually just yesterday I got. I don't know if you remember the accolades too, but
Yep.
it's like every day I continue to get accolades from folks coming
Yep.
in with the company, sharing how much they loved it, and I think it really has. It's interesting because I did this really selflessly. I just did it out of my heart and joy of being an Amazonian and celebrating us. But it has meant so much for folks externally as well, as a recruiting opportunity. So folks have reached out to me and said they applied to Amazon because of that video. It's insane. I have people that have joined and said, Anthony, I listened to it a million times while I was practicing and prepping for my interview loop. So it really is amazing. I feel really proud about it.
It is a very inspirational song. If you haven't heard it yet, I'll put a link in the description below. Folks, you got to listen to it. It's not long, but it will definitely inspire you. Even if you don't know what a bar raiser is, or you're not trying to become a bar raiser, but it will give you an insight into the culture. I love that you mixed your personality with it. You were like maybe working out, and then you were singing. You had the banana cart added in there, and people were enjoying it. I love the entire culture that was included in the music video, but also into the song, because I can feel the energy and the vibe from it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. So after Bar Raiser, what was next? What song was next that inspired you? Was it a collaboration with AWS, Amazon, or did they reach out to you for something, or did you come up with something?
Yeah, so after Barry's, the next, I guess, iconic, signature Amazon song would be one called Amazon Be Strong. Now, this one is not public, but it was used internally at the height of the pandemic. And it came about because Beth Galetti, our global head of HR, who sits on our S team, reached out to me personally and said, "Hi, Anthony. We're rolling out a return to the office opportunity, but we want to ensure that our employees are safe. And we want to create a song that will actually be able to capture that message and capture embody those opportunities in a really fun Amazonian way." And I said, sure, happy to help. Let me go, get my creative juices going. And I wrote a song called Amazon Be Strong. And I actually really like it. I will be biased and say I like it more than Bar Raiser because I had much more time to work on it this time. Like when I did Bar Raiser, it was really quick. the turnaround with the working with the team. But for this time, I did get to work with a Trinidadian producer. That's where I'm Trinidad and Tobago, who is my producer today that I work with all the time. And he's excellent, one of the best in the industry. And we came up with the melody. I gave him some ideas on how I wanted the instrumental to be constructed. And the song is really about how to stay inspired and how to kind of manage having like mental fortitude during such a dark time, and that the message was to continue to hold on. We will get through this together. So the lyrics are, we got to keep holding on, we got to keep moving on, Amazon be strong. That was the hook. And then I went into lyrics about, washing your hands and, at the time staying 6 feet apart, which is, kind of dated at this point. But it was really well received and shared internally. And as you did the training, at the end of it, you would actually in the beginning you would have to hear the music, and then at the end of the training you'll be able to hear the song in its entirety. So yeah, that was another contribution I did for Amazon, I guess, musically and culturally.
Now, obviously, that was internal, but walk us through a little bit more of the process as an artist on coming up with not only the music, the lyrics, and maybe even the recorded process. And this one, did it also include a music video, or was it just the songs?
For this one, we did a lyric video.
Yep.
So a lyric video, and we used the Amazon Pecky as one of the
Yeah.
graphics, if you
Okay.
remember Pecky.
Yep.
But yeah, I think so. Walking through the process, I think first you anchor in what would be the message you want to have. What would be that message, and what is the impact you want to have. And then working backwards from that, what would be the lyrical content that would be able to essentially give that impact. Um, I was able to use okay, some folks don't know this, but Amazon has a studio. It's in the meeting center, and I was able to work with the Amazon studio team to record the session. Same thing, similarly, bars. I use the same studio, and uh, it it also included, of course, me iterating with the producer. So going back and forth. Okay, this is V1 of the instrumental. Nope, take more bass here. This melody will sound good. Send it in a voice note. Really scrappy, but that's the creative piece. And then once we land on the music, the instrumental piece, the instrumentation, then of course the lyrics, and the melody for the hook. And I think really strong songs have a certain format. So you will have an intro, you will have a pre-chorus, you will have the chorus, and then the verses, and then that would repeat itself accordingly, depending on how long the song is. So that was the actual creation process. Um, then, of course, the recording session. I did it in, I think, like an hour. It wasn't a long session at all. Just banged it out, sing the hook, sing the verses. And after that, there's a mixing and mastering process as well. Mixing and mastering is what makes the song sound good on radio, on any of the streaming platforms to maintain the fidelity. So if the song is not mixed well, it's not going to sound good. So mixing will separate, because there's several different, I guess, vocals or layers of vocals. Like you will hear one voice singing high, one voice singing low when I record, because I'm doing it in layers. And if the mixing is not done well, it's gonna sound noisy. It's gonna create some dissonance. So the mixing process was the coming to the end of it. Then mastering. Mastering allows the music to not get distorted if you're turning it really loud. So if you're in a car and you have a loudspeaker, it will sound really sucky if it's not mastered well. And then, yeah, from there, shared it with Beth and the leadership team and got their sign off. And then it was approved.
So the mixing and mastering is when I hear on the radio this song is really great. It just really vibes with it. But then when you go hear them in concert, some of that's not there because it's live, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And if it's live, if it's a live band, the sound engineers there in the room, they have to try their best to recreate that clarity.
Yep.
Because especially if there's several different, if there's a bass player, drummer, it could get crazy. So at a concert venue, really good venues, they do a good job of being able to manage that.
I felt that Amazon Be Strong when we talked about it offline, and then I saw your next music video that you just released on July 18th, Rise Up. I'm feeling a little bit of like the inspiration and empowering folks in Rise Up, probably from Be Strong. It seems that Rise Up had that Be Strong type of feeling and vibe in it.
Yeah, so Rise Up is a really powerful song because I think it really sets anyone up for success in their life as they go through challenge. I think every day, from the moment we wake up, there's some form of friction we're going to experience during that day, whether it's significant or, mundane, but it's going to be there. And I think a lot of times, we could give up on our dreams, we could give up on that goal. Um, uh, but what is success? It's actually being able to, experience failure and rise above it, hence
Yep.
rise up. And the hook of the song is rise up again, believe in your dreams and never give up. Rising up, I think it's, for me, I would say it's also a bit of a spiritual aspect of it. I think I have a mantra for my life: healthy mind, body, spirit. So it's, as you get challenging experiences, believe in yourself, don't give up, pick up and try again. And um uh I think I even in the pre-chorus I say we gotta work harder, vibrate higher, living our lives without regrets. We gotta be smarter, stay in order, rise. It's really it's common concepts, but I think sometimes in the moment of weakness we forget them. And this song is just reminding you, you could rise again. Don't give up. You can do it. And that's how I live my life. I've had so many experiences where I've failed, but picked up myself and tried again and rose, and I was able to achieve it.
Anthony, I enjoy your music videos along with just the music itself, because when I watch the video, however you guys come up with it, it's very inspirational. I'm watching your rise up. I played it a number of times, so I can kind of get the empowering from it. And I saw you like rooftops. I saw you on the subway, dancing in the subway. I got to ask you a question, but and then you're on the plane. And by the way, I love the black shades and some of the areas that you do it. It felt that you got to keep powering through it. You will have failures, but it's what you do and what you learn from those failures that will ultimately you will rise up above it. You have to keep going through it, and just don't let it keep you down.
Indeed, indeed. I think if you would if you notice, which I think you did, there were certain scenes in the video where it kind of represented that struggle. Being on the subway and that journey through life. I start off the song by saying, living in a world of conflict and guns, sometimes you want to give up and done. Um, it's uh it's the everyday reality that we all live in that journey towards goals that sometimes we fall short. And the train was anchoring around this is the journey, and then the plane was I rose above it. I achieved that success. But if you notice, it ended with me being on the train again. Success is not permanent. You
Yep.
have to keep going.
Yeah, you're just not giving it, and you got to keep. When you say keep going, what I think of is grind it out. Keep going, keep
Yeah,
working
yeah.
at it. Day after day. You didn't get to where you're at by just one video at 10 years old or one song at 10 years old. What happened was you progressed. You kept doing it. When you were in banking, you didn't stop making music. You kept doing it. And then you did something that you're passionate about that ultimately progressed not only within Amazon, but you're working on some other stuff I want to talk about in a couple minutes. But within Amazon, you're actually a part of a network of folks. Do you want to talk about the Amazon BEN network?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Amazon Black Employee Network, we call them Ben. We have it was founded in 2005. So I lead the HQ chapter here in Seattle. Our mission is to champion inclusion, diversity, equity, and to create a support structure for our Black employees and our Black community. And we go about execution of that mission through a couple different focus areas. So we focus on retention and professional development, recruitment, culture, networking, and of course, Amazon business growth. So Ben is one of, I believe, 14 affinity groups at Amazon. So we have women at, we have indigenous at, we have I think warriors at for our veterans. So all of these different underrepresented groups have affinity groups as well. But with Ben, I think there is some amazing opportunities that I think we kind of have led for the company. So if most recently last year we launched something called the Black Business Accelerator. And Tiffany Johnson, one of my previous board members, is the founder of that. And we actually had the chance to present a PRFAQ. PRFAQ, for those that aren't familiar, it's a press release frequently asked questions document. That's one of the mechanisms we use to present bold, new, think big ideas at Amazon. And yeah, we presented it to Dave Clark, and it was funded. So and it came from Ben. Another thing that we have launched is a program called Rise for executive leadership development for our Black L7 population at the company. We've launched a Ben scholarship. So these are all the types of things that we do in which we align to the business, and we really inspect how could we impact Amazon and our community with us having a seat at the table, and we advocate for things like that.
When you go into a session or collaboration for Amazon Ben, do you come in there as Anthony the musician? Or do you come in there as Andy? First of all, I'm imagining, I swear I'm imagining the boombox coming in there and doing bar raiser, and everybody's like hyped up, ready to go and tackle the next big thing.
That's a really funny question. No, I think I really have on my Amazonian hat in those meetings, right? Because it's all about reading the doc, giving feedback, and getting that feedback, and adjusting accordingly. But no, I think I really have on the hat of our band members, because as a leader, you are the voice of your team, and it's all about really advocating and understanding their needs and understanding the needs of the communities that we're trying to impact in those rooms.
Anthony, I know you're working on, so congratulations, not only on the music, the career that you're on and being part of Amazon Ben. It's inspirational, by the way. So keep it up, whatever you're doing.
Thank you.
I know you're working on a 6-pack release of something. You want to talk about that?
Yes, of course, of course. So you guys have heard, if you haven't, go check it out. It's called Rise Up. Just type it in any of the streaming platforms by Anthony Cole. But following that, I'm going to have 5 other songs as part of an EP. And it's called Good Vibes Only. And I'm going to really anchor, I guess, some of the things that are important to me in my life through those songs and the messages that you would hear. So there's songs about love. There's songs also about believing in your dreams, but not really caring what the naysayers say. There's always going to be doubters and people that are pessimistic about your opportunities and dreams, and it addresses that. And it goes through what I really love about it is that it anchors a diverse set of Caribbean sounds. So in the Caribbean, we have reggae, we have dancehall, we have soca music, and the different songs would actually tap into those different genres in the body of work. So really excited about it. I partnered with again Casey Phillips, who I worked on Amazon Be Strong with. He is one of the best, if not number one, producer from my home country of Trinidad and Tobago. Definitely check out his work. He's worked with the best in the industry. So it was really an honor to work on this body of work with him. And yeah, really happy for the world to see it. I'm going to be releasing a music video for my second single in September as part of the body of work. So really excited about it.
So is the 6-pack EP out yet? Did you really, or when is it going to be?
No. So we're going to decide on the date pending our release date for the single. So it's going to go hand in hand, kind of like a fast follow. But September, one of the dates in September, we're going to announce it pretty soon. So actually going to be speaking with him this week coming to confirm what our game plan will be for the release.
Nice. Anthony, what advice would you give somebody that wants to get into not only creating music videos, or getting involved?
So I would say just dive into it. Like if you're somebody that's a creative and I think I'm a perfect example. I'm somebody that has a full-time corporate job, a very demanding role with Amazon, but I still find time to lean into my creative self. And a lot of the gigs that I've had, I think I kind of touched on it earlier. They've always come out from organic engagement. So I will post on my IG, or post on my Facebook, post on my YouTube, and folks might reach out. Like one of my coolest gigs I've had, I performed at a gala at the Museum of Flight here in Seattle for the Woman on the Rise conference, and it was because the founder was so inspired by my post of of the song that she wanted me to perform it. So just do it. If you have creative passions, lean into that, whether it's singing, whether it's your art painting, whatever it is. And then in terms of getting into the music industry, like as an artist, that requires, if you truly want to pursue commercial success, it does require a lot of work for that to materialize. You could always do it as a passion, as a hobby, as a side project. But if you want commercial success, definitely, I would say immerse yourself in understanding the business and that industry. You're going to have to ensure that you are with one of the songwriting agencies. So ASCAP or BMI, these are organizations that you're going to need to be able to get your IPI number, which would then allow you to release your songs on Spotify and Amazon Music. So all the basic stuff that we take for granted, learn about it, get into that, so you don't get into issues down the road if you're trying to, make money from your music. Um, uh, Study other artists, your favorite artists, follow them, learn about their journey and how they got into it, as well. Definitely, um, if you're serious about it, ensure that your social media has strong branding. There's so much now that you have to kind of align to the branding of your artistry. So your YouTube, your IG, your TikTok, your Twitter. Make sure those things are set up so that you could, folks could follow you and find your music when they want to interact with you.
A lot of hard work behind the scenes that folks don't see or realize. They see your success one day and think it was like an overnight thing, but you've been working steady and hard at it. Is this the same advice that you would give your 10-year-old self who was writing the lyrics and the songs for the competition?
Wow, I think 10-year-old self would be so proud of me, to be honest. And I think, yeah, I would say to 10-year-old self, um, you know, believe more in yourself than you did at that time, because I think it's my belief, hence Rise Up, is why I've had success to date in both kind of corporate profession as well as music. Like I said, I'm working with one of the best producers in the Caribbean, and that's not a small feat. There are many people who would love that opportunity, but I think it's because of that persistence, that consistency, and that belief that I was able to materialize that connection.
And then you were talking about all the social media stuff out there. I know you mentioned TikTok. Are you on it, or do you see yourself being on it?
I have to be on it. So I'm not very active at this time, but with the release of the EP, I'm definitely going to have content on there to socialize and market. So yeah, you have to be.
I will give you a little insight real quick before we move on. What is your TikTok handle?
Anthony Cole Music.
All right, just check. Okay. The reason I wanted to say and ask TikTok is because I was not against it. I was avoiding going on it. I actually just released this past week on TikTok. I've got 4 going. I've already, yeah. Trust me, as an older generation, it's hard to get into that, but you realize that everybody that's listening or finding you wants short form and wants to hit that. So when they hear that music, they hear that thing, they're going to stay on it because they're going to start grooving it. The sound says it all. Every single thing you see on TikTok, there, if it's sound or, has a voice or whatever it is, that's what's attracting you to it.
Indeed, indeed. As you notice, it's very short form now. And I think if you were in the space, so you would notice that the shorter form videos actually get tons more views
Yep.
because folks have such little attention span now, so it's just quick, especially the younger generation. And TikTok really is, that infrastructure of short form little quick videos. And yeah, I think, if, again, in terms of being more commercial with my talent, you have to tap on each of these platforms. For folks, that are, sub-segmented groups of your fans would prefer to hear your voice on Twitter. There are some who prefer IG, some would prefer Facebook, maybe older. TikTok would be the youngest. So you want to capture all these audiences. So you have to be involved and engaged on all of them.
How are you managing all these social platforms? Are you doing them individually or are you using a tool? Because I'm probably doing both myself and spending a lot of time. I don't have a social media manager to get this work done. So I'm a one, hold on, let me put on that hat type person.
Yeah, good question. So in the past I used to do like events planning with some business partners, and I was very much more hands-on. I think at this stage I'm too busy to do it myself, so I have outsourced it. I do have a good friend from Trinidad, and that's managing my social media now for on my IG and Facebook and TikTok. So I have outsourced it. But if you're going to do it, again, work backwards from what is a priority and build on
Yep,
that time.
exactly. Anthony, let's talk about Amazon and the culture there and joining Amazon. What does it take to go through Amazon and go through the interview process?
Sure. So definitely you want to I want to flag pre-interview because it's also important. I think Amazon is a very data-driven company, and therefore your resume should speak to your ability to be comfortable with data and metrics and being able to articulate your success. So even from the inception of application, your resume, it should be able to tell that story of how do you quantify your impact in that job? What made you successful with the things you were doing? And I would recommend spending some time being able to quantify success where possible. So that's one. Similarly, in the interview process, you want to leverage a very known concept called uh, was it when you uh, do the situation tax
The star.
action and result? Yeah, the STAR methodology.
Yep.
You want to become very familiar with that process because that's the expectation in how you are interview effectively. And you want to also integrate that STAR methodology with our leadership principle culture. So, what are the things that you were doing that really highlighted your ability to have our leadership principles, demonstrated, and what are your stories and the impact that you had, and as best you can, use speak to those metrics and quantify that success, so folks will know that hey, you be a great fit for XYZ reasons. Um, I would say there's tons of resources online. If you go on YouTube, go on Glassdoor, you'll get examples of the questions out there. It's I think it's been going on for so long. A lot of the secret sauce is out. And I think for me, I have become a really strong interviewer. I have leveraged a resource in the past called biginterview.com. It was cheap when I used it. I think it's a little bit more pricey now. But for folks that may have struggled and realized you were a finalist and you were not getting that offer, maybe you have to take it to the next level and you need to invest in yourself. So I would recommend biginterview.com. But practice your interviews, learn how to answer using the STAR methodology, and yeah, set yourself up for success. And a simple thing like somebody says, "Tell me about yourself, John." A lot of times folks may start to go through a chronological order of their resume. That's really not a strong, effective way of answering. You should start with, this is the most impact I've had recently. This is the project I was working on recently. This is the impact I've had. This is how I see myself impacting you. Tell that story. Be very bold and confident, in that interview. And you get that confidence, you get that muscle, you develop that muscle by practice.
What worked for me when I went through the interview process and the loop. All right. So everybody knows and hears of the Amazon loop where you're there for 45 minutes, back to back things. What worked was the preparation leading into it. Not only the pre interview, right? So you talk to recruiter, you talk to a hiring manager. Okay, works out. Now you're going into a loop. I took all, and these were 14 leadership principles at the time, but I took each one and I put a listing. Now you're still allowed to use a piece of paper, right, with just slight notes, like maybe an indicator. They still allow that, correct?
I did when I looped, I didn't use any paper, so
I
I
didn't
wasn't
use
even
any,
familiar.
but I think they
Yeah.
say
Okay.
or allow it. Either
Awesome.
way, if they
Okay.
don't, what it did is I laid out the leadership principles and I put two stories next to each one. And when I say stories, they were one word, and that story was ingrained into my head
Yeah.
to outline what it was. And you have to have multiple stories per leadership principle because some will overlap in those leadership ones, and you'll use it and you'll be like, oh crap, I can't talk about that in that principle. And keep in mind that those who go behind the scenes and type up their notes, they have a leadership principle tied to them, so they're going to be focusing on that. But Anthony, you touched on it, on being comfortable with your metrics. An example I always give is, you know, I increased the views for this company. So what? If it doesn't pass the so what test, it doesn't pass. Tell me how you increased it. Well, in the 6 months I was there, we went from 1,000 views to 300,000 views because I did X, Y, and Z. Now you gave me hard data on, now I can kind of articulate that on what you did and what you accomplished. And the other thing I'm going to touch on is people are usually uncomfortable with talking about themselves in an interview process, but you have to differentiate what you did and your team did. So if you say we a lot, we don't know if it was a you did, this was your role in the we aspect.
100%. Spot on. Spot on. I think yeah, it's really critical. The you are able to speak to exactly what your contribution was, and then back that up with the data and the impact as you articulated with it. Increased by X, and I did X, Y, Z. Not we. I.
All right. So can you share us anything? We have the loop process, right? Does everybody have to be yes within the loop process? And there's always one bar raiser. You don't know who these folks are, by the way, going into it. There is just one in there that you need to set the bar higher, like 50% or higher than the group. Is it what happens during the loop and then afterwards?
Yeah, so the bar raiser, you usually would know. And the reason you would know is because you would sense that that person is a little bit more assertive, aggressive in their questioning. I remember they asked me like 5 questions, almost like doing the 5 whys. Some of you may be familiar with that concept and doing like a corrections of error opportunity, but they asked me, they just kept going deeper. Every time I answered the question, they asked me a question about the question. So more than likely, you'll be able to figure out who this person is, who's the bar raiser. So just a best practice. If you're interviewing with us, if somebody's really diving in, you can figure it's them. And then in the interview process, not every single person in the loop has to say yes, but the majority has to. However, the bar raiser is going to have a lot of weighting in that decision making process. So you do want to ensure that the bar raiser believes that you are a good fit in the process.
Should I get discouraged if I don't pass my first loop? Should I even bother applying again?
100%, you should continue to interview.
All right.
Uh, and so, I think sometimes too, you may be a great fit for Amazon, but not for that role. And and I think a best practice might be to, there's kind of set the expectation with the recruiter. Hey, I didn't get this opportunity, but is there anything else I may be a good fit for? I know I did interview well, but I maybe didn't have this experience. But could you refer me somewhere else? Or even in your follow up, make sure you capture the information from that hiring manager because they may like you, just not for their team or not at that time. Maybe in the future they may have a role that fits your skill set, and you want to kind of develop that relationship. So ensure you plant that seed. And regardless of what, keep applying because there's so much opportunities here. There's going to be something for you if you, have the competencies, have the leadership principles really ingrained.
And then you give us a lot of great information, not only about yourself, about Amazon, about the music. I've got two last questions so we can wrap things up. The last one is, you're a senior program manager for Amazon Music. What is that? What do you do?
So for me, in my role specifically, I am looking to enhance employee experience and trust. And the way I go about that is really inspecting the mechanisms and the resources we have to tell the employee sentiment. So we have connection scores for employees. I'm looking at the connection scores. I'm looking at surveys that they have done. Most recently, for example, I did a tour in Europe. So I went to our London office, or Paris, or Berlin, or Milan, and met with different Amazon Music employees to really learn about and really capture that voice of employee. What are the areas of opportunity? What are the friction points? What are the pain points? What makes Amazon Music an awesome place to work? And I'm taking all of that data, taking all that feedback, and then synthesizing it with recommendations to leadership for new programs that will continue to, make Amazon Music the Earth's best employer.
Okay, so you're taking all this data for Amazon Music internally for employees or
Yeah,
externally? Okay.
internally. Yeah,
Okay.
internally. So I'm internal focused. Correct.
I imagine the role, like you were the guy that was deciding what music's playing and the programs and how it works out. And it was just like, and maybe you were singing in the role. I just imagine your personality doing that, but you're actually right down within the folks who are not only part of the program, but you're looking to learn internally. Because I always find that if your employees are happy in the things that are going on, everybody else will be continuously be happy around. Like Amazon's one leadership principle, number one, customer obsessed. It starts.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think, you've heard of the phrase, happy wife, happy life, right? So,
More often than you think.
so I would say happy employees, happy Amazon customers, right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, the boots on the ground are the employees, and the Earth's best employers are our newest leadership principle. We had 14, now we have 16, which include our sustainability brings broad responsibility, and then the Earth's best employer, and those opportunities are kind of what anchor my new role around what how can we enhance the employee experience and really be committed to that process and progress.
And the last question for you, what's next? What advice do you want to give our listeners?
uh, so anybody listening, I would say in terms of your career, really develop an idea from jump, especially if you're a younger person, younger in your career, of where you want to go. But don't be afraid to experiment. I think in your journey, especially if you're unsure, your journey through life, you're going to capture experiences and learnings that you can then apply to make that next decision and leap. So don't be afraid to experiment. But as you do these different things, different jobs, different studies. Learn about what you like and what you don't like, and leverage that. Keep that as in the back of your head. Um, when folks say no, say okay, thank you, but figure out the next step in pursuit of what you do want and what you believe you deserve. I think that's one of the things that has really anchored my success. Is I have got to know I have failed, but I picked up and tried again in different ways, and success manifested in the future. And I would say, lastly, just really, really think big and believe in your dreams. I think thinking small as a leadership principle would really limit you in what you do in your life. So think big, believe in your dreams, and don't give up.
Think big, learn to be curious, a true Amazonian, for quoting some of the leadership principles. I love it. I still use them today. Anthony, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you so much, John. This was awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. Senior Program Manager for Amazon Music, Anthony Cole. I've been your host, John Myer. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify, because guess what, folks? As always, we're out of here. Do, 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 do.